The Galactic Council Hall was never quiet, but tonight it felt louder than ever. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in their high seats, their voices mixing into a storm of fear and anger. Screens floated in the air, showing burning planets, broken fleets, and cities turned to dust. The enemy was advancing again. Another world had fallen. High Counselor Threx of the Valorian Union slammed his claw against the crystal table. "We are running out of time," he said. "Our fleets are shattered. Our defenses are broken. At this rate, there will be nothing left to protect." Across the hall, an elder from the Selnari species folded his thin hands. "We have asked every major power for help," he replied. "They all refused. Some are already dead. Others are hiding." A low wave of fear passed through the chamber. Everyone knew the truth. The enemy, known only as the Devourers, did not negotiate. They consumed stars, stripped planets, and moved on. No alliance had ever stopped them. A younger council member spoke in panic. "Then what do we do? Sit here and wait to die?" Silence followed. That was when a quiet voice spoke from the far end of the chamber. "There may still be one option." All eyes turned. The speaker was old. Very old. His name was Commander Ralven, a war veteran who had survived more battles than anyone else present. His body was weak now, his armor scratched and faded, but his eyes were sharp. Threx frowned. "If you have a plan, speak it. We have no time for hope without reason." Ralven slowly stood. "Long ago," he began, "before the Devourers were even known, we encountered a single being from a young species. Some leaders lost interest at once." "A single being?" someone scoffed. "Now." Ralven did not raise his voice. "He was human." The word caused quiet laughter in several sections of the hall. "Humans?" a Corlith noble said. "They are barely a spacefaring race." "They are weak," another added. "Divided. Slow." Ralven waited until the noise faded. "This human was alone," he continued. "His ship was destroyed near our border. He was wounded. Unarmed. Surrounded." The commander paused, memories heavy in his eyes. "We could have killed him. Sold him. Ignored him." Threx leaned forward slightly. "But we did not," Ralven said. "We healed him. We fed him. We protected him until help came." A few council members shifted uncomfortably. "That was decades ago," Threx said. "What does that matter now?" Ralven turned to the central display and touched it with a shaking hand. "When the human left, he said something strange," Ralven said. "He said, 'Humanity remembers kindness.'" Soft laughter echoed again. "And you believe this matters?" Threx asked. Ralven met his gaze. "I believe it is the only debt we are owed," he said. The room went quiet. "You want us to call the humans?" someone asked. "Across half the galaxy?" "They have no reason to help us," another said. "They owe us nothing." Ralven nodded. "Yes," he said. "They owe us nothing." Still he raised a small data crystal. "But I have already sent the signal." The hall erupted. "You did what?" Threx shouted. "It was an old frequency," Ralven said calmly. "From that human ship. A simple message. A reminder." "And if they do not answer?" Threx demanded. Ralven sat back down slowly. "Then nothing changes," he said. "We fall." The council had no reply. Minutes passed. Then an alarm sounded. A soft one. Confused. Unsure. A sensor officer turned pale. "Unidentified signal detected," the officer said. "Entering system." Threx's eyes widened. "The enemy?" "No," the officer whispered. "Terran." A single ship appeared on the main screen. Small. Clean. Painted in white and blue. The room fell silent. One ship meant nothing against the Devourers. Then another signal appeared. Then another. Then 10 more. The sensor officer's voice began to shake. "Multiple Terran vessels arriving," he said. "Different classes. Military and civilian." The screen zoomed out. Ships poured in from every direction. Frigates. Destroyers. Carriers. Old models. New designs. Ships that looked patched together and ships that shined like stars. The sensor struggled to keep up. "This is impossible," Threx said quietly. The officer swallowed. "Count is exceeding 1,000, he said. "No, 2,000. Sir. The system is filling." Fear changed into something else. A massive Terran flagship moved to the front of the formation. Its size dwarfed anything the Council had ever built. A signal request appeared. "Incoming communication," the officer said. Threx hesitated, then nodded. The screen shifted. A human appeared. He wore a simple uniform. His hair was gray. His eyes were calm. "I am Admiral Jonathan Hale of the Terran fleet," the human said. "We received your call." The room was completely silent. Ralvin stood again, his hands shaking. You remember?" he asked. The Admiral's expression softened. "A Terran was once saved by your people," Hale said. "His story is known to us." He paused. "And humanity does not forget." Behind the Admiral, more ships arrived. So many that the stars themselves seemed to move. Threx finally spoke. "How many ships have you brought?" he asked. The Admiral looked slightly surprised. "All of them," he said. The signal cut. The council chamber remained silent, staring at the screen full of Terran ships. Ralvin closed his eyes. For the first time since the war began, hope returned. And far beyond the system, the enemy was about to learn a terrible truth. Humanity had answered the call. The Terran fleet held its position, silent and calm, filling the stars like a moving wall. Inside the Galactic Council Hall, no one spoke. Every screen showed human ships, layer after layer, stretching far beyond the system's edge. Commander Ralvin stood alone near the central platform. His mind was no longer in the present. It had gone back many years, back to a time when none of this seemed possible. Back to the day they found the human. The wreckage had burned for hours before the patrol arrived. A small ship lay broken across the rocks of Velair 9, its hull split open like a wound. Smoke rose into the orange sky. The patrol expected nothing alive. Then they heard a sound. A weak sound. A breath. Ralvin, younger then and still strong, moved ahead of his soldiers. Inside the broken ship, half buried under twisted metal, was a single figure. A human. Blood covered his uniform. One leg was broken. His weapon was gone. His eyes were open, filled with pain, but also awareness. The human raised one shaking hand. "Please," he said in broken galactic trade. "I mean no harm." The soldiers aimed their weapons. Humans were unknown at the time. No. Dangerous in ways not yet measured. Ralvin remembered the moment clearly. One command would have ended it. Instead, Ralvin lowered his weapon. "Stand down," he ordered. The human collapsed into darkness. They carried him to a medical station. Their healers worked carefully, unsure how human bodies reacted to alien treatment. They made mistakes. Learned quickly. The human survived. His name was Daniel Reeves. When he woke, fear filled his eyes. He expected chains. Interrogation. Pain. Instead, he found clean bandages and warm light. Ralvin visited him every day. Daniel spoke slowly, learning their words. He never demanded anything. Never threatened. Never lied. He only thanked them. Days passed. Then weeks. News arrived that a Terran rescue ship was searching nearby systems. The Valorian leaders argued about what to do. Hand him over, some said. Sell him, others suggested. He knows our space, a few warned. He could be a spy. Ralvin listened and then spoke one sentence. He trusted us when he was helpless. That ended the debate. When the Terran ship arrived, Daniel could barely stand. Still, he faced Ralvin with strong eyes. "You saved my life," Daniel said. "I don't know how to repay that." Ralvin had replied honestly. "You owe us nothing." Daniel nodded slowly. "Then I hope one day," he said, "that kindness finds you again." Before boarding the Terran ship, Daniel turned back once more. "Humanity remembers kindness," he said. At the time, those words meant little. Now they meant everything. Back in the present, the council hall slowly returned to life. Whispers spread. That one human. Decades ago. This fleet came for him? Ralvin looked up at the screen again. The Terran fleet had not moved. It waited. Threx approached him. "You never told us the human became important," Threx said quietly. "I did not know," Ralvin replied. "I only knew humans remember." Another alarm sounded. Enemy movement. The Devourers were coming. Long, black shapes appeared at the edge of the system. Their ships looked like living scars in space. Cold, silent, hungry. Panic returned to the council chamber. "They're here already?" "We are not ready." The Terran flagship moved forward. Admiral Hale appeared again on screen. "Valorian Council," he said calmly. "Move your remaining ships behind our line." Threx hesitated. "You will face them first?" he asked. Hale nodded. "That is how humans fight," he said. "We protect our friends." The Terran fleet shifted. Perfect order. Thousands of ships formed a solid wall between the Devourers and the alien worlds. Enemy signals flared. Weapons charged. Still, the humans did not fire. Ralven watched closely. "Why do they wait?" a council member asked. "They are letting the enemy see them," Ralven said softly. The Devourers finally responded. A deep, distorted signal flooded the system. "This territory is claimed," the enemy voice echoed. "Withdraw or be erased." The Terran admiral did not change expression. "This system is under Terran protection," Hale replied. "You will withdraw." Silence followed. Then laughter, cold and cruel. "We have consumed greater powers than you," the Devourers said. "You are nothing." Hale leaned slightly forward. "You made one mistake," he said. The enemy paused. "You underestimated memory." The Terran fleet powered up. Energy surged like lightning through space. Alien sensors went wild. Power readings exceeded all known limits. Ralven felt his breath catch. "These ships," he whispered. "They are not here for conquest." Thrax nodded slowly. "They are here for a promise." The first Terran weapon fired, not in rage but in perfect control. The battle for the system had begun. Yet even as the first enemy ship broke apart in silence, Ralven knew this was not the end. This was only the beginning of humanity's answer. And somewhere among the Terran fleet, a human commander watched the stars with quiet determination, carrying the memory of a wounded man saved long ago. Space shook as the first Terran weapon struck. Light ripped across the darkness, sharp and clean, cutting through the Devourer front line. One enemy ship shattered without a sound, broken into glowing pieces that slowly drifted apart. Then another exploded. And another. Inside the Galactic Council Hall, every alien watched in stunned silence. The Devourers had never fallen so easily before. "They destroyed 3 enemy vessels in seconds," a sensor officer said, voice shaking. "No charge time. No wasted shots." Commander Ralven felt a strange weight lift from his chest, but fear remained. The Devourers were never simple. As if proving him right, the enemy fleet shifted. The dark ships changed formation, pulling back and spreading wide. Their hulls twisted, opening like wounds. Massive energy readings spiked across every screen. "They are adapting," Threx warned. "They always adapt." The Terran fleet did not retreat. Instead it moved forward. Human ships advanced together, matching speed, matching direction as if controlled by one mind. Smaller craft formed tight defensive patterns around larger carriers. Heavy cruisers slid into position at the front. Admiral Hale's voice came across all channels. "All Terran units," he said calmly. "Phase 2. Protect the line." The aliens exchanged confused looks. "What line?" someone whispered. Ralven pointed at the display. "Their line," he said. "Humanity's line." The Terran ships stopped. They did not chase the enemy. They waited. The Devourers fired first. A wave of black energy rolled forward, tearing through space itself. Entire sections of stars seemed to dim as the attack passed. Alien officers cried out. "Nothing survives that weapon." The wave hit the Terran line. And stopped. Terran shields flared bright blue and gold, layered one over another. The attack pushed against them, slowed and finally faded away. The council chamber erupted. "They blocked it?" "No fleet has ever blocked that." Thrax stared in disbelief. "How long can they hold?" he asked. Ralven answered quietly. "As long as they must." The Terrans returned fire. This time it was not a single strike. It was a storm. Precision weapons targeted engines, weapons cores, and command vessels. Human fighters poured from carriers, moving like living arrows. They struck fast, withdrew, and struck again. The Devourers reacted with rage. More ships surged forward. Massive dreadnoughts emerged from behind the enemy lines, each larger than anything the aliens had ever built. Sensors screamed warnings. "They are bringing in their core fleet." The pressure on the Terran line increased. Shields began to flicker. One Terran cruiser took a direct hit. Its shields collapsed and its hull cracked open. The council gasped. But the ship did not fall back. It moved forward, weapons blazing. Another Terran ship slid into its place, absorbing fire meant for the damaged vessel. "They're covering each other," an alien officer whispered. "They refuse to leave anyone exposed." Ralven felt his eyes burn. That single truth changed everything. Far across the battlefield, aboard the Terran flagship Resolute, Admiral Hale watched the combat feed in silence. Beside him stood a younger officer. "Sir," she said, "we're taking losses." Hale nodded. "I know." "Should we pull back?" she asked. Hale shook his head. "No," he said simply. We hold. The officer hesitated. For them? She asked, glancing at the alien systems on the map. For a promise? Hale replied. The Devourers grew desperate. They shifted tactics, launching visible attacks toward the alien worlds behind the Terran line. Enemy ships breaking through, a council officer shouted. They're targeting our planets. The council descended into panic. They will bypass the humans. They're going for civilians. Before fear could spread further, the Terran fleet reacted. Without hesitation, dozens of Terran ships broke formation and intercepted the enemy force. They placed themselves directly between the Devourers and the defenseless worlds. Alien cities watched the sky fill with human ships. They're shielding us, a planetary governor whispered. Terran ships took hit after hit. Some were damaged badly. Some were destroyed. Still, none retreated. A message echoed across all open channels, human and alien alike. This is Captain Reyes of the Terran destroyer Iron Will, a calm voice said. We will not fall back. Civilians are behind us. The Iron Will exploded moments later, taking 3 Devourer ships with it. Silence followed. Then another Terran captain spoke. This is Captain Zhao. We are taking Iron Will's position. Then another. And another. The Devourers slowed. Confusion rippled through their formation. They had never faced an enemy that fought like this. Not for territory. Not for power. But for people who were not even their own. Inside the council hall, Ralven bowed his head. All this, he whispered. For one human. Threx shook his head slowly. No, he said. For who they are. The Devourers changed tactics again. A massive signal surged through the battlefield. The enemy fleet began pulling power inward, concentrating energy into a single point. They're preparing a system-killer attack, a sensor officer cried. If they fire, the star itself could collapse. The council froze. Even the Terrans would not survive that. Admiral Hale appeared on the screen once more. All units, he said. Emergency protocol. The Terran fleet shifted. Ships moved closer together, forming a tight sphere around the enemy's target point, directly in the path of the coming blast. They're sacrificing themselves, someone whispered. Ralven clenched his fists. No, he said softly. They're standing. The Devourer weapon fired. Light vanished. Sound vanished. Then space screamed. The Terran formation absorbed the blast. Shields shattered. Ships were thrown apart. Several Terran vessels were lost in seconds. But the star remained stable. The system survived. When the light faded, the enemy fleet was broken, disorganized, damaged, and bleeding power. The Devourers began to retreat. They're pulling back, a council officer shouted. Cheers erupted across the hall. But Ralven did not cheer. He watched the damaged Terran ships drifting silently. How many did we cost them? Threx asked quietly. Ralven answered with heavy certainty. They do not measure cost the way we do. As the enemy vanished into dark space, the Terran fleet regrouped, wounded but unbroken. Human ships moved to rescue the damaged. Medical vessels deployed immediately. No ship was left alone. Admiral Hale spoke one final time. The debt is not yet paid, he said. This war is not over. Beyond the system, the Devourers fled, carrying fear for the first time in their long existence. They had learned something new. Humanity does not forget. And humanity does not stop. The battlefield grew quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet in the way only space could be after violence. Broken ships drifted slowly, their lights flickering like dying stars. Rescue craft moved carefully between them, pulling survivors from the wreckage. The Terran fleet had won the moment. But the war was far from over. Inside the Galactic Council Hall, the alien leaders stood in silence. None of them had ever seen a fleet fight like that. Not with such control. Not with such sacrifice. Commander Ralven watched the Terran ships with tired eyes. They did not run, he said softly. Even when death was certain. High Counselor Threx nodded. They fought like beings who decided the outcome long before the battle began. A signal light flashed again. Incoming Terran transmission, an officer announced. The room tensed. The image of Admiral Jonathan Hale appeared once more. His uniform showed damage now, burn marks along the collar. His face was calm, but his eyes carried weight. The system is secure, Hale said. For now. For now? Threx asked. Hale inclined his head slightly. The Devourers will return, he said. They always do. Fear stirred again in the chamber. Then why stay? One council member asked. You've already paid any debt we imagined. Hale was silent for a moment. Then he spoke slowly. Humanity does not see this as a debt, he said. We see it as responsibility. Ralven felt his breath catch. Responsibility, for us? He asked. For anyone who showed mercy when it mattered, Hale replied. He turned slightly, and another figure stepped into view beside him. The council gasped. The human was older now. His hair was white, his back slightly bent, but his eyes were sharp and familiar. Ralven recognized him instantly. Daniel, he whispered. Daniel Reeves looked directly at the camera. Commander Ralven, he said, voice steady. It has been a long time. The council erupted in shock. That's him. The human they saved. Ralven stepped forward, trembling. You lived, he said. Daniel smiled faintly. I lived because of you, he replied. The smile faded, replaced by something heavier. When I returned to Earth, I told my story, Daniel continued. At first, people thought it was just another space survival tale. Hale nodded. But humanity listens to stories, the Admiral said. Especially ones about mercy. Daniel's voice grew stronger. My story was recorded, studied, taught in academies and fleet schools, he said. It became a lesson. A lesson? Threx asked. Daniel met his gaze. That kindness creates allies, he said. That mercy builds bridges stronger than fear. The council hall was completely silent. Hale continued. When the Devourers appeared years later, humanity prepared, he said. Not just weapons. Memory. Daniel looked down briefly, then back up. When the call came, he said, it was not a question of if we would answer. Hale finished the sentence. It was only a question of how many. The image shifted. Behind them, the Terran fleet filled the screen, thousands of ships, some damaged, some scarred, but all still standing. This fleet, Hale said, is not just military. He gestured and ship data appeared. Scientists, engineers, civilian transports, medical ships, colonists. Threx stared. You brought everyone. Hale nodded. We came to stay, he said, until the Devourers are finished. A heavy truth settled over the council. You are committing your future to our war, Threx said quietly. Daniel spoke again. You made that choice for us long ago, he said, when you chose to help one wounded human instead of turning away. Ralven closed his eyes. He remembered that moment. The fear, the doubt, a single choice. How many worlds, he wondered aloud, are saved by one act of mercy? Daniel answered softly. As many as need to be. The Devourers did not stay silent for long. Deep space sensors detected movement beyond the system. Massive movement. They are gathering, a Terran officer reported. More than before. Hale's expression hardened. They have learned, he said. Now they are afraid. Daniel turned to Hale. They will come with everything, he warned. Hale nodded. So will we. The Terran fleet began to move again. But this time something was different. Human ships did not simply form a line. They formed a network. Supply lines stretched between systems. Defensive platforms activated near alien worlds. Human engineers began reinforcing alien shields, sharing technology without hesitation. They are rebuilding us, a council member whispered. No, Ralven corrected gently. They are standing with us. Alien crews worked alongside humans. Different species, different forms, learning to fight as one. For the first time, the galaxy felt united. A Terran captain spoke over a shared channel. This is Captain Morgan, she said. Any alien ship without weapons, move behind our carriers. We've got you covered. Another voice followed. This is Terran Medical Unit 7. Injured non-humans, you are priority. Threx watched the displays in disbelief. They treat us as equals, he said. Daniel's image appeared once more, closer now. This is how humanity fights, he said. Together. Far beyond the system, the Devourers watched. They had faced armies before. They had faced machines. They had never faced loyalty. The enemy fleet grew, dark and vast, blocking the stars themselves. The largest Devourer vessel yet emerged, its size beyond imagination. A living fortress. A weapon meant to end hope. Hale stared at it without fear. All fleets, he said calmly, prepare for final engagement phase. Ralven felt the weight of history pressing down. This will decide everything, Threx said. Daniel nodded slowly. Yes, he agreed. But no matter the outcome, the galaxy will remember this moment. The Terran fleet moved forward as one. Humanity was no longer answering a call. Humanity was answering destiny. And the Devourers were about to learn the most dangerous truth of all. Mercy, once given, creates warriors who never forget why they fight. The stars disappeared. That was how Commander Ralven later described it. One moment, space was wide and endless. The next, it was covered by darkness as the Devourer Armada arrived. Thousands of enemy ships poured into the region. They were larger than before. Heavier. Covered in strange moving armor that absorbed light itself. At the center drifted the largest vessel ever recorded, a living fortress pulsing slowly like a giant heart. Silence spread across the battlefield. Even the Terrans paused. Inside the Galactic Council Hall, fear returned in full force. "This fleet is bigger than the last," Threx said. "Bigger than all the others combined." Ralven did not look away from the screen. "And yet," he said quietly, "the Terrans are still moving forward." The Terran fleet advanced. No hesitation. No disorder. Damaged ships stayed in formation. Smaller vessels took positions near crippled allies, ready to shield them if needed. Medical ships moved closer, knowing what was coming. On the Terran flagship Resolute, Admiral Hale watched the enemy calmly. "They've brought everything," an officer said. "If we lose here..." Hale raised a hand. "We do not plan to lose," he said. Across the Terran fleet, a message spread, short, clear, and shared on every channel. "Remember why you're here." That was all. Human ships powered up. The Devourers struck first. The massive fortress at their center opened, releasing a wave of dark energy stronger than anything before. Space bent. Light twisted. Several Terran shields shattered instantly. Human ships were torn apart. Alien leaders cried out in horror. But the Terran line did not break. Instead, something unexpected happened. Terran ships moved closer together. Much closer. "They're clustering," a sensor officer said. "That makes no sense." Ralven understood. "They are sharing shield load," he said. "Spreading damage." The Terrans had planned for this. Energy flowed between ships through tight formation links. When one shield weakened, another reinforced it. When one ship took damage, others covered it instantly. The Devourers fired again. And again. Terran losses increased. Explosions lit the darkness. Still, the fleet advanced. A Terran cruiser lost its engines and began to drift toward the enemy. Instead of pulling away, it turned its remaining weapons forward. "This is Captain Alvarez," a calm voice said over open channels. "We're not making it back." Locking course. The cruiser rammed straight into a Devourer dreadnought. Both ships vanished in a blinding flash. The council chamber fell silent. One by one, similar messages followed. "This is Captain Noor. We're holding the gap." "This is Captain O'Neill. Redirect fire through us." "This is Captain Tanaka. Do not slow down." Terran ships became shields. Weapons. Walls. The Devourers began to falter. Confusion spread through their formation. They pulled back slightly, regrouping around the living fortress. The fortress responded. Its surface split open, revealing a core of unstable energy. Power readings climbed beyond safe limits. "They're charging a system-level weapon," a Terran officer warned. "If it fires, the entire region will be erased." Alien panic surged. "There's no defense against that." Hale's voice cut through the chaos. "There is," he said. "But it's not easy." He turned to Daniel Reeves standing nearby. "It's time," Hale said. Daniel nodded slowly. "Then let's finish what kindness started." Across the fleet, a new order spread. "All Terran heavy vessels," Hale commanded. "Prepare convergence maneuver." The ships responded instantly. Large cruisers, carriers, and battleships broke formation and surged forward, straight toward the enemy fortress. "They're going too close," someone shouted. "That's the point," Hale replied. The fortress fired. A beam of absolute darkness tore through space, destroying everything in its path. Terran ships flew directly into it. They vanished. But they did not die in vain. Each ship that entered the beam weakened it, absorbing, disrupting, destabilizing the energy flow. The beam flickered. Hale clenched his fists. "Now," he said. The remaining Terran fleet fired everything they had. Focused. Precise. All weapons struck the fortress core at once. The living ship screamed. Yes, screamed. Its structure collapsed inward. Energy spilled out of control. The Devourer formation broke. Enemy ships fled in all directions, abandoning coordination, abandoning the fortress. The core detonated. A shockwave rolled across the battlefield. When it cleared, the fortress was gone. So were many Terran ships. Silence returned. Long and heavy. Sensors scanned the field. The Devourer fleet is retreating, a Terran officer reported. Full withdrawal. The council hall erupted, not with cheers but with stunned disbelief. They've won, Threx whispered. Ralven watched the drifting wreckage of Terran vessels. At a terrible cost, he said. Rescue operations began immediately. Human ships moved through the debris field, pulling survivors from escape pods, human and alien alike. No distinction was made. On the Resolute, Hale closed his eyes briefly. Status, he asked. We lost many, the officer said quietly. But we held. Hale nodded. That's enough. Daniel looked out at the stars. They stood, he said softly. Just like you did for me. Back in the council hall, Ralven turned to Threx. The Devourers will never forget this, he said. Threx shook his head slowly. No, he agreed. They will fear it. The galaxy had changed. Not because of weapons. Not because of power. But because one species had proven something rare and dangerous. That mercy once given does not weaken. It creates warriors who refuse to fall. And humanity had just shown the stars exactly what that meant. The war did not end in celebration. It ended in silence. Across the battlefield, broken ships drifted slowly, surrounded by the soft lights of rescue craft. The stars, once hidden by fire and darkness, slowly returned to view. The Devourers were gone. Not destroyed completely, but broken, scattered, and afraid. For the first time in living memory they had fled. Inside the Galactic Council Hall no one spoke. The victory felt heavy, earned with lives that could never be replaced. Commander Ralven stood at the great window, watching Terran ships move among the wreckage. They worked without rest. Human crews rescued aliens first, then their own. Medical ships overflowed, yet no call for help went unanswered. They are still protecting us, Threx said quietly, standing beside him. Yes, Ralven replied. Even now. A Terran signal arrived. The image of Admiral Jonathan Hale appeared, his face more tired than before, lines of loss clear in his eyes. The Devourers have withdrawn beyond known space, Hale reported. Our long-range scans show no immediate regrouping. Relief spread through the chamber. But, Hale continued, this war is not something humanity will forget. We will remain vigilant. Threx nodded deeply. You have saved our people, he said. We owe you more than we can repay. Hale shook his head slowly. No, he replied. You owe us nothing. The Admiral stepped aside and Daniel Reeves came into view again. The council focused on him. The human who changed everything. Daniel spoke calmly but his voice carried weight. Long ago I was broken and alone, he said. I was not a hero. I was not important. Ralven felt a deep ache in his chest. You were important, he said softly. Daniel smiled faintly. Only because you chose to care, he replied. What humanity did here was not payment. It was remembrance. He paused. We did not come to rule, Daniel continued. We did not come to take your worlds. Hale finished the thought. We came to stand with you. The signal ended. For several moments, the council chamber remained silent. Then Threx turned to Ralven. One act, he said. One small choice. Ralven nodded. That is how futures are shaped. Days passed. The Terran fleet stayed. Not as conquerors, but as guardians. Human engineers helped rebuild shattered stations. Alien worlds received food, medical aid, and shield upgrades. Knowledge flowed freely between species. Children on alien planets watched the sky, pointing at Terran ships with wonder instead of fear. They look like stars, one child said. Yes, a parent replied. Stars that came when we needed them. A joint council was formed, human and alien together. Decisions were shared. Voices were equal. For the first time the galaxy felt stable. Yet one question remained. What of the fallen? A memorial was planned. Not grand, not towering, but meaningful. On Velar 9, near the site where the human ship had once crashed, a monument was built. It showed no battle, no weapons, only two figures carved in stone. One alien, one human, standing side by side. The words beneath were simple. Kindness remembered. The day the memorial was revealed, representatives from many worlds attended. Humans stood among aliens. No ranks, no titles. Daniel Reeves walked slowly toward the monument, leaning on a simple cane. Ralven walked beside him. I never expected this, Daniel said quietly. Ralven looked at the stone figures. Neither did we, he replied. Daniel turned to him. Would you do it again? he asked. Knowing the cost? Ralven did not hesitate. Yes, he said. Every time. Daniel smiled. So would humanity. Far away in the deep dark beyond known space, the Devourers gathered what remained of their forces. Their leaders spoke in low, fearful tones. They fight differently, one hissed. They do not break, another said. They remember, a third whispered. The Devourers had consumed empires. They had erased civilizations. But memory, true memory, was something they could not destroy, and it terrified them. Years later, history would speak of this war. Not as the greatest battle, not as the largest fleet, but as the moment the galaxy learned something important. That humanity was not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most advanced, but they were something far more dangerous. They were loyal, they were patient, and they never forgot those who showed mercy. Commander Ralven lived long enough to see peace return to worlds once burning. He lived long enough to see Terran and alien children learn together. Before his death, he recorded one final message for the archives. We did not save the galaxy, he said. We saved one life. The galaxy saved itself after that. Daniel Reeves passed away peacefully on Earth, honored quietly as he wished. His story remained, taught in Terran academies, shared among the stars. A reminder that even in a cruel universe, kindness can echo farther than any weapon. The Terran fleet eventually returned home, but they left behind something greater than ships. They left trust. They left unity. They left a promise. And whenever a call for help went out again, whenever fear rose in the dark, the galaxy remembered. They helped one human long ago, and when the time came, humanity answered. With everything.